Yes. hmm I was just reading of this process known as the judicial process. Yeah. It's a summons or order from the court informing the defendant of the action against him or herself and to compel them to appear in court to answer charges. Yeah. Now, the second meaning of the judicial process is all the acts of the court from the beginning to the end of a lawsuit. hmm Now, when you think of the beginning to the end of a lawsuit, yes, hmm then you think of judicial process, possibly a regular process, could be the final process or the process. Yes. It looks like each of the lawsuits, yeah, court cases, they have what's known as the beginning and the end. Now, just thinking about the dissolution of marriage, yes, on May 24th of 2012, yeah, you had the beginning of the judicial process of the dissolution of marriage. And my wife petitioned the court for dissolution of marriage. Right. She filled out all the necessary court forms. She submitted the forms to the court. Yes. And she issued a summons. Yeah. That began the process of the suing of myself. Yep. For dissolution of marriage. Now, when looking at the judicial process from the beginning to the end, yes, I have documented numerous court hearings, right, where there was no judicial process. Yes. It's kind of like saying, well, we have issued a decree of dissolution of marriage without any of the necessary judicial processes for each and every one of the court hearings. Right. It's like each of the hearings within the judicial process never had any judicial process. So the judicial process of the beginning to the end, yes, was actually not a judicial process. Now, for a lot of individuals that are judges, right now, we can look at the individual court hearings, yes, and the necessary documents that have to be admitted to the court, yes, to be able to have a court hearing, yes. Or we could look at the beginning of the judicial process to the end of the judicial process. Now, I'll give you another example. July 8th of 2011, the judicial process began to issue a temporary protection order. Yes. Mhm. My wife kidnaps my sons, right, moves back to Clallam County. Within 5 days of leaving the United States territory of Guam, motioned the court for a temporary protection order. Yes. Now, the ex parte temporary protection order was based upon an emergency need. Yes. To not have to serve me any notice of court hearings or giving me the opportunity to be heard. And then you reissued it on July 22nd. Yeah. I think that's the approximate date, 14 days later, the 22nd of July, without any attempt at personal service. Now, you only get one ex parte court hearing for a temporary protection order. You only get one of them. It has to be in that circumstance where the respondent is not given any notice of the actual court hearing. All the other court hearings, every court hearing in every court, yes, the respondent is given notice of the court hearing before issuing the court order. Yep. It's called judicial process. Well, you decided to reissue the temporary protection order knowing I wasn't a resident of Washington State. Yes. And I was in jail. Oh, oh. Well, she reissued, or you did, yes, reissued the temporary protection order unnecessarily. Yes. See, the court has really not understood the judicial process necessary to issue court orders. You can issue an ex parte temporary protection order based upon a allegation and accusation of domestic violence and child abuse. But when the accusation didn't happen right now in Washington State, Any and all no contact orders was the obligation of the jurisdiction of Guam. Now, for every time you reissue a temporary protection order based upon the ideology, yes, this thought, quite possibly a lie, yes, a manipulation of the judicial system, that the individual says, I can't find the respondent, I want you to reissue the temporary protection order, giving me, yes, the availability of serving the individual. Right, personal service. That's why you issue a temporary protection order. You issue one of them, and if they don't serve the respondent, they can have another one. Yes. And if they don't serve the respondent, they can have another one. Yeah. You can have approximately 10 to 20 temporary protection orders. Yes. The law only requires 2 attempts at personal service. But the law does not disallow the reissuing of temporary protection orders until there's personal service to the respondent. When you actually read the law,